Hey everybody, if you have a bachelor's degree and live anywhere in the United States, there's now a way for you to take your bourbon education to the next level. The Distilled Spirits Business Certificate from the University of Louisville is an online program that can be completed in as little as 15 weeks and will prepare you for the business side of the spirits industry. It's offered by the AACSB Accredited College of Business. And this certificate was developed in partnership with industry experts to be one of a kind, and it's going to prepare you for your next adventure. Learn more about this online program at ufl.me/pursue spirits.
Dry oak or the sweet oak?
I'm more of a sweet oak.
Sweet
Yeah.
oak.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. I mean, that's my nickname. That's what they call me. They call me Sweet Oak.
Sweet oak. Sweet oak.
What's up, everybody? It is episode 219 of Bourbon Pursuit. I'm one of your hosts, Kenny, and we don't have a whole lot of news, but it's festival season. And for Bourbon Pursuit, we are fortunate that we are going to be at some of the most prestigious ones around. We had a blast last weekend at Hometown Rising, and now we are headed into Bourbon and Beyond weekend. The whole Bourbon Pursuit team is going to be there, and we have different sessions throughout the entire weekend. So make sure you go and check out the schedule so you can be there, bourbonandbeyond.com. Of course, Fred's going to be there, and he's scattered everywhere, but Ryan kicks things off on Friday at 12:30 with Beer Drinkers Bourbon, and I have the final session on Friday at 6 o'clock p.m. called What is a Master Distiller? On Saturday, I kick off at 12:25 with Barrel Finish versus Traditional Bourbon, and we're going to be joined on stage by all the personalities that you've heard on the podcast before. So we would love to see you all there, and please come say hi to us. There's also going to be Bourbon Pursuit t-shirts and hats available at the Fred Minnick merch tent, so make sure you take a second and stop by there. Last week marked 65 years as Jimmy Russell being an active master distiller, and now he is considered the longest tenured master distiller around. Happy anniversary, Jimmy, from the whole Bourbon Pursuit team. Maker's Mark is unveiling its first ever limited release bourbon that won't require a special trip to Loretto. Maker's Mark Wood Finishing Series 2019 release, RC6, will be available nationwide this fall. It marks the first of many upcoming whiskeys in the Wood Finishing series, as Maker's Mark plans to release a new one for a limited time nationwide each year. You probably already know about Maker's 46 and the private barrel selection program that utilizes flavoring staves. This release was finished in secondary barrels containing 10 wooden staves dubbed RC6. These staves, made from virgin American oak, were seasoned for a year and a half and then baked in a convection oven before being introduced to the cask strength bourbon. Maker's Mark made 255 barrels. It's bottled at 108.2 proof, and you'll be able to find it nationwide in October with an MSRP of around $60. Not only is it festival season, but it's also release season. And release season means all the crazies come out. And for today's podcast, we look at really what that means, because there are going to be bourbon lotteries that happen around the nation. Folks are camping out in parking lots, and there's a lot of hate around flippers and liquor store owners that are trying to get the most money out of these secondary values for these allocated bourbons. So our goal in this episode was to see if we could help folks out there not feel the FOMO or the fear of missing out. We did our best to blindly set up samples of past limited edition bourbons and compare them to single barrel private picks. The results are interesting, but the best part about this is that you can do this at home. Find a group of friends and get together and have a blind taste-off, and use some limited edition bourbons versus some single barrels out there. Heck, if your taste buds prefer Stag Jr. over Big Boy George T. Stagg, you're going to save yourself a lot of headache and money in the process. But you can do this as well for things like Eagle Rare 17 versus just standard single Eagle Rare store picks. And there's a lot of them that spread the whole gamut of a lot of the big distilleries are out there. And if you ever get around to doing something like this, we would love to hear your results. Drop us a line on our Facebook page or mention us in your Instagram or your Twitter posts. All right, it's time to dive into the good stuff. Let's hear from Joe over at Barrel Bourbon, and then you've got Fred Minnick with Above the Char.
Hi, Joe from Barrel Bourbon here. We're always trying to push the envelope of blending whiskey in America. Find out more at barrelbourbon.com.
I'm Fred Minnick, and this is Above the Char. I want to take you back in time, a time when bourbon wasn't cool, when bourbon wasn't selling, when Julian Van Winkle had to trade bottles of 23-year-old Pappy just to get a magazine advertisement. I'm talking about the 1990s. In the 1990s, there was a very important event that happened that would shape the bourbon economy for the next 20 or 30 years. And that is the Japanese market crashed. You see, up until that point, the Japanese market was the number one thing kind of keeping bourbon alive. You had brands being specifically developed for the Japanese, such as Blanton's, Booker's, Noah's Mill, the entire small batch collection. Essentially, anything that was an ultra premium of that time was being sent to Japan because the Japanese absolutely loved and continue to love bourbon. When the market crashed, you saw how the companies decided to deal with it. You had some who decided to put their efforts on domestic sales. So Heaven Hill basically shifted their efforts to focus on the Southeast and throughout the United States. Jim Beam really tried to double down in places like New York and Chicago and San Francisco. They had really concentrated programs there. And United Distillers, now Diageo, decided to sell. Up until that moment, they had actually been making more of their wheated bourbon to sell to Japan under the Rebel Yell label to compete with Jack Daniels. They had this excess of wheated bourbon, and they decided to sell it. And they also decided to sell their brands. They sold Rebel Yell eventually to the company that is now Luxco. They sold Old Fitzgerald to Heaven Hill. And they sold Weller, the Weller brand, and the stocks and the archives to Sazerac. Now, those are three companies who really wanted the bourbon, and they really wanted to promote it. And as we all know, that particular whiskey was quite good and made an impression on anybody who ever tasted it. And I often wonder what would have happened if United Distillers decided not to sell their whiskey and their labels to three companies who really did care about promoting bourbon. I've thought about that a lot, and I've come to the conclusion that I don't think bourbon would have ever has been as hot as it is today. The reason why, United Distillers has always been a Scotch-centric company, and they've never put much effort into American whiskey. The exception being Bulleit, and George Dickel is kind of like barely gets any budget. At least they're paying attention to it. But that particular company has never really put a whole lot of focus on American whiskey. So I look back on that time today as we celebrate Bourbon Heritage Month, and we enjoy this incredible growth and all the fandom that we have in bourbon. I look back to the 1990s as the people who truly made the right decisions that got us to where we are today. And that's this week's Above the Char. Hey, if you want to learn more about the history of bourbon, check out my book, Bourbon, The Rise, Fall, and Rebirth of an American Whiskey. Until next week, cheers.
Welcome back to the episode of Bourbon Pursuit, the official podcast of bourbon. Kenny and Ryan here in our secondary recording studios in my basement. If you're watching the video, you may notice the background. It looks familiar. And we have a new guest on today. And I'm sure usually when people come here, they're always like, I can't wait to see Kenny's basement. They're all like, it's bottles, bottles, bottles. So
I like upstairs studio better. We got more room on the dining room table.
We do.
We're a little tight down here, but we'll make it work so you can see the bottles.
Yeah. So when I was planning the basement, I never really planned this to be like a recording space, but it kind of turned out that way.
Well, now you have lights and the whole shebang. You know, it's like real deal.
We'll make it work. We'll make it work in the cramped space. That's how it'll happen. But today's topic really came as it was a good suggestion by our guest, because when we think about the significance and what it really takes to go and chase after unicorns and limited edition releases, it's becoming it's difficult, right?
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult. It's either
I don't even do it. I just gave up on it like 2 or 3 years ago. It's like, nope, not camping.
So, yeah, you're either camping or you're paying secondary prices, or, and other people are kind of like, oh yeah, well, I've got a great relationship with the store manager. I buy everything there. And that's great. But sometimes you also need to take a step back and think like, okay, well, if I just keep buying a bottle of bourbon every 2 weeks and I keep buying a 12-pack of beer, odds are I'm probably spending almost too much.
Just as much.
And then I could just bought off a secondary.
And in my case, my store relationship, it cost me probably about $500 to $600 in tickets to like concerts and football games and all this stuff per year. So I need to add that tax onto my math whenever I'm like, oh, I'm getting these at cost.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah, I was like, that family will lot B actually cost you more than the secondary.
Yeah, no doubt.
And that's typically how it happens. But so let's go ahead and introduce our guest today. So today we have Mikey Conrad. Mikey, welcome to the show.
Welcome. I'm glad to be here in this beautiful, magnificent basement.
Yeah, see,
it's special.
We like to hear that. It's all about the ambiance.
That's right. Sets the tone.
So, Mikey, first off, thank you for coming up with this idea, because this is great, because we get to kind of look at more of the bourbon culture side of things here. We get to look at really what does it take to look at a very good store pick, somebody that is from a barrel selection group, or whether they're stores that are very well known for it, versus chasing after those limited releases, which sometimes are pretty much the same exact thing as those barrel selections, just either aged longer or selected by the master distiller for various reasons, something like that. So kind of what was your reasoning behind bringing an idea like this?
Yeah, I mean, the main reason is kind of already been hinted at. Like, it just got really almost ridiculous to camp, to spend time, energy, effort, money into chasing things that you weren't always sure if they were going to pan out to be what you think they're going to be, because of everyone else telling you that you got to get this bottle, it looks pretty, whatever it may be. And so, you start to taste store picks or single barrel picks from either clubs or stores or bars, and you're like, man, this is really good. This tastes better than, this special release that came out. And so it's just come to a simple like reality that time is something you don't get back. And so for a guy who's married, has 3 daughters, I'm like, man, am I just spending this too much time trying
Dad's
to chase
always
something?
chasing bourbon.
Yeah, man. I mean, come on. So
I've missed 3 gymnastics classes in the past month. Yeah.
So I mean, that's where some of the really practical, thought came into play. Is like, really, like, how much time should I be spending? And it's like, man, there's access to so many great stores in this area alone, Kentucky, Indiana. I'm like, man, there's got to be a better way. So, yeah.
That's and Ryan always talks about opportunity costs. Being
when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So you definitely always got to think of the opportunity cost.
It's that, and then it's also in the value of your time. Ryan being an entrepreneur and owning a few businesses, he has this sort of level thinking, because I go back and I think of like my 2014 days of camping in front of a liquor barn and being like one of the first 3 people there and coming away with a 23 at the end of the day. Yeah, sure, it was fun. They were good times. And now if I think about it, like, would I ever do that again? Like, is my time more valuable than actually waiting in line?
Yeah. Yeah. You got to look at like your salary or what your earning potential is, like, as someone, and then you're like, all right, I just invested 9 hours to get this bottle and it's, $1,300 to $1,500. You're like, wait a minute, I could have just done my regular job and, done a lot better. But, but it's also fun too. You can't discount that. There's something in about going to the store, going after the hunt, hanging out with people to, get those bottles, so that you can't totally just make it a numbers thing, but it's, Yeah,
and 9 hours is probably on the short end of the stick. Nowadays.
Exactly. So it's even lower, or even bigger opportunity costs. So,
So I'm going to talk, we're going to talk a little bit more about these topics as we go, but one of the things that we're doing today is we are going to be kind of going into a double blind here. And this is going to be store picks versus limited releases. And these are store picks that I've had access to, that I've purchased, as well as limited editions that I've purchased. And honestly, I told my wife, I said, let's set these up. I don't want to know if this is an Elijah Craig pairing, if this is a Four Roses pairing. I don't really know what it is.
You really want to expose us.
Oh, I mean, this is going to make us look real bad.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we're going to not only know what the brand name, the mash bill, whatever it is, but then inside of that, we don't know which one, either 1 or 2, is the limited edition, or is the store pick.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through, and we're going to start off with our first one here. We were going through, so we always know number 1 is on our left and number 2 is on our right. So we've got A lined up. So let's go ahead and kind of start the process of nosing through these and figuring out.
I think I know what it is.
Oh, yeah? Just by that?
You're so fast.
I think it's a Weller 107.
You think? Oh, you're going straight with the weeder off the bat, huh? So
Actually, I have no idea. That was the first thing in my peripheral vision.
So I'll give you some ideas of what we have up line today. So we've got, on the store pick side, we've got a Russell's Reserve from Cork and Bottle. We've got a Knob Creek pick that was done. It's a Knob Creek rye pick that was done by Westport Whiskey and Wine. We've got a 9-year, 9-month OESK that was done by the North Atlanta Bourbon Society, which I chose that one because we're pairing that against a Brent Face Bottle, which was the 2016 14-year OESK. In addition to that, we already said we got a Weller 107, which is also a Cork and Bottle pick, versus a Weller Crafter Perfect Bourbon, which was a sample sent by Matt Cusick. So, Matt, thank you so much for sending that along, and hopefully we don't disappoint you here. Or hopefully, we can, yeah.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the nose on this one. I wasn't in love with the taste or finish or anything about it. I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's my first one.
I'm kind of with you on that one. The nose is there, but the taste might be a little weird.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's way off profile on any of those. I'm trying to register in my head.
And so this is also kind of the issue with some store picks too, is that a lot of people in a lot of stores, they always go and they want to find something unique.
Yep.
And so they try to find that off profile one. And so that could be the one here that is the off profile side of things. What about you, Mikey? Do you have a guess on?
Man, my guess is going to be way off.
That's okay.
Ryan's got my brain. 107 land now.
I totally just glanced over. I have no idea.
But there is a big drop off on the back end of this thing.
Yeah.
So.
The only thing I noticed up front, like when I first noticed it, was like some cherries, and I always get cherry out of like Wellers, but that's the only reason why I said that. But I don't know.
Wow, this is actually pretty hard to. I just tasted the second one. The taste is a lot better than the second one.
Oh, yeah. The second one's.
The first one, I'm going to go back to it because it was a little.
Like musty, kind of like funky. I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it kind of had that weird finish to it. But
and like some.
But like I said, that's one of those things where, you go into a store and that's what they try to do. They try to differentiate it by having some unique pick like that.
They taste totally different, which is crazy. Like, did Lauren do these right?
I hope so. I can't be 100% on that one, but I hope so. Mikey, how many barrel picks have you been on? 'Cause I know you came with us on one.
Yeah, I think right around 5. Yeah, maybe 1 or 2 more, but at least 5. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have you found those like off-profile ones? Have you found them before?
I have found some off-profile ones, and my brain is always going toward the masses, unless there happens to be a large group of folks that just want something really off-profile. But if that's off-profile, it can be off-putting to someone that has an expectation of something that they want to sip or drink that's within their their taste.
Right.
And so we, even at a place like New Riff, like we got down to our 2, we did them blind, and one was just significantly different. And my thinking was, man, guys, if we pick this one, people are going to think we're crazy. They're not going to want to ever buy another pick from us.
Again. Right.
But the other one was it was great. Had this great nose, super sweet on the front, and this long-lasting kind of sweet oak. And so we chose that one. So, but usually when I barrel picks, I'm pretty simple. Like I have this very like check
Yes or no kind of
check
thing.
minus or check plus. And
Yeah.
if the nose on something is really weak, I have a hard time putting it into the check plus category. But I do like the nose on the second one a lot better than the first.
Yeah, I like everything about the second one better. So I'm not entirely sure what it is.
Yeah, I'm going to put my vote for 2 on this one. I agree as well. But I mean, we've had so Ryan Lentz, he's been on the show before. He sent us a blind sample once, Ryan, if you remember that.
Yep.
And we were dumbfounded by it. We were going through because we were like, is this a rye? Like it's got this minty flavor. It's like totally. I mean, we couldn't pin it down. And then he was like, "No, just a 9-year Buffalo Trace."
Yeah.
And we were like, "Oh, didn't expect that one to come."
Yeah. We were thinking it was like, is this some Willett Family Estate, like 8-year rye or something from MGB, you know? But it was Buffalo Trace.
Oh yeah, it was a crazy one. So I think I got my vote in for number 2.
Yep.
Mikey, what's your vote in?
Yeah, number 2, hands down.
All right. So I think.
Do you want to do the reveal?
I want you to
or do you
the
want to
reveal.
guess?
Oh, how about just trade them off? You guys can both do reveals.
Oh,
how about that? So
You want to reveal?
all right, Mikey, go ahead.
All right, I'll reveal.
All right. So here we go.
Here we go.
Number A.
Number
A.
Number A.
Number A. Oh boy. Sorry guys. A1. Number 1 is Weller. Craft your perfect bourbon.
Oh,
See?
at least
So I knew it was Weller.
Yeah, all right. You got the Weller stuff right. Wow, how about
So
it?
the craft your own bourbon, you whoever crafted it did not do well. You screwed up.
Yeah, well, that kind of goes to show you, right? I mean, we're out of the gate. We already just said that the
store pick.
Yeah.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, like store pick 107s, like they trade upwards of like $100 now, but the Craft Your Perfect Bourbon, I think, is somewhere around 300, maybe
It's
350,
skyrocketed.
400.
Yeah.
I've seen them, yeah.
I mean, it was a limited release. It came in a fancy white label, but
I'm just like thrilled I got it right out of the gate. On the nose. I was like,
You should just leave now.
yeah, I'm done. See y'all tomorrow.
mic drop, we're done
All
here.
right. Well, let's
Let's go ahead and refresh or reset here.
Need a dump bucket.
Here we go. Here's a dump glass that you can use. Just go ahead and do that.
All right. Have you done a 107 pick?
I have not.
Me either.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity.
It's on the list though.
I had the opportunity to do it.
We're gonna have a nice blend
which,
in
you know,
this.
the weird thing about doing, we're going to have just a big old Weller mix right here. So we'll just do that. We'll save that one for later.
Is it pretty similar to like doing a Buffalo Trace where, you know, you get
It's
4
very
to 6
similar.
barrels and
It's very similar.
I don't need that here.
So
one.
So when you do the Weller 107 pick, I mean there's literally no difference than what you were doing with a Buffalo Trace or anything like that, except you have this high anticipation going into it.
Yeah.
Right, because you're like, we did it, like we're here, like we're getting a 107.
reached the Mecca.
pick. Yeah, I mean you think like it's gonna be like crazy and like off the wall, like you're super excited for it. Mike, you got to take some more of that, buddy.
more?
It was
Let me see.
little, yeah. It was like you got barely a taste there. And then
could-
so we're.
I could use more.
So like I
beer,
said,
too.
you go in like super amped for it. However, when we did ours, I was actually sitting there with a few of the guys, and I'm kind of like, it might be like one of the few times in my life where you're like so crazy going into it that you say, can we get some new barrels? Because
Well,
like
life's all about expectations.
nothing.
You know, you
I
go-
mean,
when
nothing was like over. You weren't over the moon about any of them. I mean, so it was just kind of like, well, I guess we'll just choose one of these. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, they were also kind of doing us a favor of giving this group that I'm in a 107 pick. The story behind it was, and this is all part of the Bourbon Cartel, as we've had on the show before, doing a 1792 foolproof pick, and the team that was there chose the barrel, and come to find out that barrel was already pre-sold, and everybody had already left. Like guys came in from California for this, all this other kind of stuff, and they were like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Like, what can we do? What can we make it up for you?"
I know exactly how you can.
107 pick, and they're like, "Okay, we'll make it happen."
Yeah.
Then I guess when that happens, you might get the last barrels, all the rejects for the
Right.
end of the year.
It's like when Eddie Russell was at the Russell's pick, and they're like, "Well, I probably shouldn't say this on air. Never mind. Moving on."
All right, so we got B lined up
B,
now.
B here.
Right.
So with B, oh buddy, here we go again. So I feel like this is
I feel like this is
like a high rye or something.
Elijah Craig, maybe.
Ryan, you might have
on
your
fire.
He's got his senses dialed in now.
I do.
Every
A lot
night
of
he
practice.
goes. Yeah, every night he goes home and just practices.
I actually do now. Ever since we've done Pursuit Series, like I've kind of like trying to not take it seriously, but really put some effort into it, like and train my nose and palate. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I enjoy it, you know. So I've really I'll probably whiff on this one, so don't hype me up too much. But it just smells like an Elijah Craig to me out the gate.
All right. I can tell you after the taste, I don't think it's Elijah Craig.
Ooh.
I think it's a rye.
Oh, yeah.
Because I had one rye blind set in here. Maybe it's like a... Because
Elijah Craig's a high rye bourbon.
Well,
so,
you got that, and then you get Four Roses, and some of the different recipes, you get some of like a minty profile to it as well. So,
Yeah, there's this earthy bite at the end.
Yeah, it's definitely, like you said, you got the rye at the end. It's really standing out. Whereas Elijah Craig's are more like kind of peanutty, nutty kind of.
well, one of the things I threw in here, I said there was a rye blind. So there's
The problem is the ryes that you did are like gateway ryes.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they're gateway ryes because the rye that I did a Knob Creek Westport whiskey and wine. And Westport's really known for a lot of good store picks. Chris has been on the show before from there. But I said, what's a good limited edition to pair this up with? And there's not... I try to be a smart consumer, so I didn't go out and buy like the Knob Creek 130th anniversary or whatever it was that came in the box that was like $150. But I had I had a bottle of Booker's rye sitting around, yeah. And so I said, well, I mean, it's still Jim Beam at the end of the day. Both of them like aren't super rye heavy on the taste, so let's see if we can figure it out in a blind.
No, I'm worried.
Yeah, the C's like
because Booker's rye. I'll tell you a story. Because Booker's rye, I bought a few bottles of them, and I told myself, I said, you know what? Like I have a lot of money sunk into these things because they came out at $300, $350 retail, and I said maybe when it hits 1,000.
What's the proof on a Booker's rye? Is it cash? Well, obviously,
it's cash strength. Yeah. I mean, I think it's like around 110, 120 something. Most of the Bookers are around 120 proof, so
yeah,
you could probably expect that. Now, I'm also.
It just seems like there's a huge proof difference in the first and second one. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, you might be right. I'm getting more ethanol on the nose on this first one.
But which one do you enjoy more?
The first one, the alcohol like really overpowers kind of everything for me personally.
Now that you say it, there's a lot more ethanol on the nose.
Like on the nose and the palate, it just really just takes over.
Well, and also I can't be 100% if these are ryes or not. So,
but the second one is so light and guzzable. Is that a word? Guzzable?
It's not even close.
It is now.
Or do you think this could be...
I don't love either one of them, but I like the second one better than the first.
Like, now that I'm tasting it, I don't know if it is a rye.
I don't think it's a rye.
This might be the difference in the Four Roses.
Yeah.
Because it could be the Brent Face 14-year OESK versus the 9.5-year or 9-year, 9-month North Atlanta Bourbon Society pick. And I chose both of those. Well, I chose the North Atlanta one because the Brent Face bottle was all OESK. And this was one of the last store picks that I had that was also only OESK. All right. So if you had to choose one, what are you going with? I know. Hopefully their listeners are bored.
Just to keep the comments going. I mean,
rolling around.
Like I said, I don't love both of them. I think if I had to pick, I'll pick two just because, like, one just is so... I just get so much alcohol that I can't really taste much else, whereas two, I can kind of get some basic bourbon notes, a little bit. But they're both pretty underwhelming for me. Not underwhelming, but just very average.
Number one has a little bit more of a punch to me.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people think that is hot or it's heat.
Yeah.
I don't typically mind it as much. However, number two definitely has a little bit more subdued, a little more oak.
Yep.
And I like my tannins, so I love.
Oh, he does. I mean, it's like he's cheap for tannins.
Do you like the dry oak or the sweet oak?
I'm more of a sweet oak.
Sweet oak.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. I mean, that's my nickname. That's what they call me. They call me Sweet Oak.
Sweet oak. Sweet oak. All right, you want to reveal this one, Kenny?
All right, I'll reveal this one. So I'm on number two, Ryan.
I'm number two as well.
Man, it's a close tie, but the ethanol on the nose on one, I gotta go with 2. as
Yeah,
well.
two's just got a much more sweeter kind of.
So here's the reveal. All right. Well, we kind of nailed that one. So this was the Four Roses.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Number 2 was the Brent Face bottle. It was the 14-year OESK barrel strength limited edition, and then the first one was the 9-year, 9-month OESK.
Gotcha.
So, in this particular instance,
The limited release wins.
the limited release
There you
wins.
go.
So, how about it? All right. So let's go ahead and dump them out and get ready for
and
them.
then the first one was a store pick, right?
Yes, the
Okay.
first one was the store pick. That's correct. Grab another glass over there, Ryan, if you can, and we'll create our
Dump glass.
dump glass over here.
Mikey, of the ones you've been on, what are the most memorable barrel picks or any stories from those too?
I mean, hopefully the one you went on with us, but
Yeah.
no pressure.
I mean, Buffalo Trace is always on someone's. Just picking a barrel there. It doesn't matter really what whiskey it is. Just that you get to do a pick a Buffalo Trace. It's on everyone's list, right? Mm-hmm. So that one was great. I really, as far as like tours go and overall barrel picking experience, man, I mean, Castle and Key, they even though they don't have anything on the market yet, like the ability to taste a rye or a wheated and then lay it back down. I mean, the experience overall was really great there. Mm-hmm. So I feel like, that was overall my best so far. And Buffalo Trace was great as well. But out of the few that I've done, Castle and Key was hands down my favorite. And usually I'll try to point people toward a tour there if they're coming in from out of town.
Yeah, the Castle and Key, I was kind of blown away with. Like, I'd seen it before the renovation, then went. I know it's time-sensitive information, but went last week.
Okay.
Last week and did a pinhook pick with the Breaking Bourbon guys, and man, that place is awesome. Like, it is like the gardens are beautiful. Like, all the architecture inside, like, it's a great blend of like modern architecture with old architecture. Like, I mean, it comes with a steep price tag. I think they said their tours are like $30.
Yeah,
for a
it
tour.
is.
But I know that. I mean, it's totally different. Like, you could literally spend. Well, we did spend 6 hours, but if you wanted to, you could spend all day there. I mean, it's a great, beautiful location.
Yeah. And if you're a history nerd like I am, so there is that kind of ambiance that adds to the experience.
Yeah.
I mean, New Riff, they're new, but man, they take care of you really well there as well. So some of it is just different. So that's the reality on some of these picks. Like, some might not be better than the other, but
Who's our
they're all
least
different.
favorite?
Yeah,
or should we not say that? We might get invited back.
well,
let's not do that.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Trying to create
But
topics.
to be honest, there's really not some that are like terrible, right? None are actually terrible. I mean, the only ones that are terrible, maybe my opinion is terrible, is that you don't even actually go on the barrel pick. You just have the samples shipped to you.
Yeah.
Like, that's just,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
It's
obviously
okay.
geography kind of plays a role in that, but
it's
not as
unnecessary.
exciting.
Well, it's just part of what it is, though.
There's probably very few people that go on a barrel pick and walk away saying, I wish I wouldn't have done that barrel pick. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably very true. So so we're here at letter C now. I keep wanting to say number C. So letter C, and off the nose, like the nose right away, like I'm like pulling number 2, like way ahead of the pack here.
Yeah. They're both the both noses are far better than the ones from the last rounds. Like on these two.
So we're tasting right now, trying to figure out exactly.
Now I know where we are on these.
We are easily in Elijah Craig land.
Yeah.
This is
totally whiffed on the. I gave that spiel about how I'm taking seriously. I'm failing Pursuit Series.
Yeah, it's okay. But I mean, this is
It's a work in progress.
So, the Elijah Craig brand in itself, like, I'm a huge fan of it.
Oh, yeah.
They're doing a lot of good things in regards of not only putting out what people have been asking for years, which was a barrel proof release. They brought out, and should I say, reintroduced the 18 and 23 year expressions a few years ago. The only thing that you can't find anymore is the 21 year expression. But, honestly, out of those older expressions, and by the way, I can tell you exactly.
You can totally tell, right? Just first at what each one is.
Yeah, so I can tell you exactly the comparison here, what we're looking at. And One's an Elijah Craig 18 year. Another is an Elijah Craig store pick that was done by the Lock and Key Society. So Lock and Key.
I thought you were saying the first class Elijah Craig 18. I'm like, nope, it's not. The second one is.
Well, I don't know. I don't know yet, but I'm just saying.
Oh,
that
you can tell.
I'm just saying the lineup. And so anybody that's unfamiliar, Lock and Key is based out of Julio's up in New England. They're a pretty big player in that store pick world. They've been doing it for years and years and years. I've actually got an old store pick that I'm down to, I think, my last drop of one of the last ever Bernheim wheat store picks that were ever available. Heaven Hill would open it up to doing your own Evan Williams, your own Bernheim, your own Henry McKenna, all that sort of stuff. Then they kind of put the handcuffs on you. Yeah.
2 is definitely got to be the 18, and 1 is the it's that 8 to 12 year, like Elijah Craig got the nutty toffee candy bar notes, like stuff I enjoy. So I definitely like 1. You're probably gonna pick 2. But
I'm probably gonna pick 2. But when I was talking to Mikey about this, and we were talking about store picks versus limited releases, I actually thought, I didn't do it, but I thought about doing it because it's not actually technically a store pick or a store release. But I said, what if we did an Elijah Craig barrel proof versus like a 9-year like Willett Family Estate?
Oh yeah,
and I was like, that one actually might be
that would be pretty comparable. Well, obviously it is comparable because it's the same exact liquid, but both of these are really good actually. I prefer 1 just because it's kind of got some of the sweeter, nuttier candy bar kind of notes that I like, but that's just preference.
And I think number 1, it's pretty easy to see the 94 proof play out there.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's also
well, even on both of them, they're both very light.
Well, I mean, Mikey, like, tell me about this. Like, what in the market would change if Heaven Hill opened up a Elijah Craig program and they just said, yeah, put it at barrel proof?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get a wider range, I think, of first off, people wanting Elijah Craig, because it is very. I don't want to use the word delicate, but I will use the word delicate. It feels very delicate when you put it next to the EC18. There's just a lot more depth to it, and I think there could be a lot more depth to a single barrel pick of Elijah Craig barrel proof if they would just open that up.
I guess it just depends on your consumers. So, like, if you're, the first one, like for I think it's going to appeal to more of a, I don't want to say common, but
I mean,
like,
right.
Yeah, it's just because it's
not the enthusiast in mind here.
It's very approachable, very enjoyable, but like 2, you're definitely going to get, like you said, more complexity, depth. 2 might be more off-putting to like a common consumer. I'd say common, but like, or new consumer, but I don't know. Just depends on your consumer. But I want the barrel proof because Elijah Craig barrel proofs are always home runs. Like, I've never had a bad one. Can't say I've ever had one.
Well, so Mike Sani personally, so that there's a lot that actually goes into making sure that an Elijah Craig barrel proof isn't just a mistake either.
Right.
Like they choose barrels specifically that go into it, which is a little bit different. We've talked to the people at Heaven Hill, and when you talk about Elijah Craig 23-year, when you try to find 23-year-old barrels, it's actually very, very hard.
Yeah, and they end up dumping a lot of them into like just Evan Williams Black Label because it's undrinkable. It's the oak is just overpowered.
There's it's stank at that point, right?
There's law of diminishing returns with oak that can. And somebody talked. The good thing I learned at Castle and Key with the Pinhook guy, because I was at like, so how do you you have a really good barrel at say like 12 to 14 years. Like, do you bottle it then or do you let it age? Will it keep improving? And he's like, no. He's like, if you want something that's going to age, you need something that's really soft, delicate, and sweet at that age, because the oak's really at 15, 16, 17 is really going to start to overpower it if it's already ready. Does that make sense?
Oh, no, that makes sense.
And so that was kind of enlightening because we've talked about, us buying some 14-year and sitting on it for 3 to 4 years. But you're like, this one's really great. Should we just, because it's so great, we hang on to it? Or should we look for something will do better with age? So that was kind of good advice.
Yeah, and it's always It's always a costly mistake if it never works out in your favor.
Well, we'll just bottle it anyways. No, I'm kidding.
No, okay. So let's go ahead. Let's reveal this one because I think this one.
Yeah.
Is as bad as it sounds. Like I knew the bottles, I chose them going into it. However, I let my wife figure out exactly what we should do. However, I thought we had.
Yep. It's Elijah Craig. I mean, we went on a Elijah Craig tangent for. It'd be funny if it was like, nope, Russell's.
It would have been funny, but
yeah. So the first one's
this is almost too easy.
The Lock and Key, and C2 is the 18 years. So yeah.
All right. So
Good work.
So I mean, but the thing is like I don't mind the Lock and Key one. Like you're right. Like it's totally like a good drinkable bourbon.
Yeah.
For an average consumer that just wants to get into it. However, I don't know if a lot of the Elijah Craig barrel picks are speaking to the enthusiastic market.
Yeah.
Right?
They still keep going.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's still fun. It's still fun to go. You talk to people from like Bourbon Crusaders, and they come out with a lot of good picks too. And the thing is though, it's just kind of like I just wish they didn't take it down to 94 proof. There's something about when you cross under that 100 threshold that I don't know, Mikey. Have you found anything underneath 100 that you're like, hey, like I can do this every single day, like?
There's one bottle and brand I do, and I did this in a blind, so that's how I know. But maybe I don't know the proof exactly. But George Remus, I tend to like. I like that bottle. I'm not a fan of like why they chose George Remus of all people, but anyways,
I guess he's all part of the underground,
and all that
prohibition
stuff.
and stuff.
he's
like
not
that.
necessarily someone to model your life after.
That's
But Remus, I love that bottle. I love the bourbon in it. I think it might be 90 proof. I can't remember
typically
exactly, but-
under 100 proof, like you have to get into some dusties, like Granddads, and
That's
you
very
know,
true,
I mean,
yeah.
or like like a Michter's 20s or something, because they're 94 proof, aren't they?
Actually, you might be right. I don't know. I've got one back there, but I don't feel like getting up and looking at it. And so I'm handing everything to Ryan. Do not mix C1 and C2 together, because EC18 is just too good. I don't know. I like it. Like for me, I love Elijah Craig 18 when I'm sitting in the basement and it's late at night and like I can't do like a barrel proof. Like it's just like I'm not gonna be able to go to sleep at night if I
So you gotta pour that back in the bottle.
Well, who knows? it's a long day ahead of us still. So
Yeah.
I
I like the 18. I mean, for me, the tannics really sit and kind of dry and just like in which it kind of sits there and lingers for a bit. And I'm like, all right, go away, please.
See, not me. I mean, Mikey, what about you? Like, do you like tannins? Because like I said, I like a lot of rich oak complexity that what those really bring into it. I mean, that's and for me, when you get a lot of oak, that means that the barrel is doing something like tremendous, and that's really what I get out of it.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the sweet oak. If you can give me a finish with a sweet oak and like a dried cherry,
you're calling my name.
That just lasts for days.
Yeah, I mean,
Sign me up. Not a fan of the dry oak as much. I feel like it's got you get your lips smacking back and forth and just makes you thirsty. I'm not a big fan of the dry oak, but the sweet oak, yeah, it does make you feel like, oh man, you can almost taste the process.
Yeah.
A little bit. So
I'm with you on that one. And that's what, I mean, I'm a fan of just oak in general because it definitely is more of an overpowering flavor. Like, I'll put it to you guys. Is like, is there a something on the flavor wheel, right? I mean, we've all seen it before that you don't like to get out of a bourbon. The 2019 Kentucky's Edge Bourbon Conference and Festival pairs all things Kentucky with bourbon. It takes place October 4th and 5th at venues throughout Covington and Newport, Kentucky. Kentucky's Edge features a bourbon conference, music, tastings, pairings, tours, and an artisan market. Kentucky's Edge 2019 is where bourbon begins. Tickets and information can be found online at kentuckysedge.com. As the saying goes, Portland is weird. Perhaps it's something in the water. It turns out that there might be some truth to that. The Oregon capital's primary water source is supplied by the Bull Run watershed. It's also the key ingredient in one of the city's most popular watering holes, Bull Run Distillery. The Bull Run watershed is a very unique water source. It's protected by an act of Congress back in the 1870s, and the city's fathers got their hands on a beautiful lake up in the Cascade Mountains, and it's been that way since the 1870s. It used to flow through wooden pipes by gravity to Portland. It's that water that gives Bull Run Distillery's products its distinct character. 2 bottles are being featured in Rack House Whiskey Club's next box. Rack House Whiskey Club, it's a Whiskey of the Month club, and they're on a mission to uncover the best flavors and stories that craft distilleries across the U.S. have to offer. Rack House ships out 2 of their featured distilleries' finest bottles, along with some cool merchandise in a box delivered to your door every 2 months. Go to rackhousewhiskeyclub.com to check it out and try some Bull Run for yourself. Use code PURSUIT for $25 off your first box. I'll put it to you guys. Is there a something on the flavor wheel, right? I mean, we've all seen it before that you don't like to get out of a bourbon.
I mean, for me, definitely like
some people are like, oh, I don't like orange zest or orange peel or whatever it is.
I mean, honestly, I like fruitier whiskeys. I really like. Like I'm with, we were talking to the barrel guys. I really like when you get those like grape notes, and just too much oak is very off-putting for me. Like you said, it gets dry and you're smacking your lips and like trying to get some moisture back into your. You're like reaching, But other than that, I mean, I obviously I hate young stuff like where you just get grain forward, grassy or like where it's. Like hay or I won't name any names, but we've had it before, that's just very off-putting for me.
I agree. It's the last thing you want to do is sit there and expect something, and then all of a sudden it's like, did I just mow my grass a second ago, and it's in my mouth?
Yep, for sure.
All right, so now we're on letter D.
So you all won that one, right?
Well, I mean,
I should say you all, but
like I said, I'm an EC18 person.
Okay.
So I think like I said, I'm just a fan of what they do there. However,
so that's the limited release.
So
limited release is up 2-1.
Well,
that's a hard one though, because
it's because it wasn't the same proof. It wasn't everything like that.
Well,
Well,
that's an item you
proof.
can get in the gift shop almost every day, right?
Exactly.
So
or no, they're not the same.
is it
proof. Elijah
limited
Craig's
or is it
4
single
points
barrel
higher.
limited in that case?
Yeah.
That's a hard one.
Yeah, and there's and to be honest, like there's a lot of things that we thought about that we couldn't do today. So we looked at the potential of doing an Old Forester single barrel versus an Old Forester birthday bourbon.
That would have been a good one.
Yeah, problem is we haven't been on an Old Forester pick yet, and I guess we need to probably line that up. But the other thing was like, just weren't thinking ahead of time enough to be able to
It smells like Russell's.
Let's
My
go
way
ahead
off.
let's go ahead and get it. And then the other one was looking at. Oh gosh, I'm like looking at the bar thinking, oh yeah, we were looking at doing like and this is not even a store pick versus limited release, but this is like a Sazerac rye versus a Thomas H. Handy.
Yeah.
But it's like the proof difference.
proof is so
it's gonna
different.
be too crazy. Like
You'll be able to pick it out. Like
well, that's the problem is that like to do any of these with the antique collection would actually be pretty difficult to do because
you could do a Stag versus Stag Junior maybe.
that would about as close as you could probably get. But when you look at Eagle Rare 17 versus regular Eagle Rare, I think you're going to hit the same exact problem that you saw at the Elijah Craig. It's just going to be rich of depth of the oak. The same thing with Sazerac 18 and Sazerac Rye. It's just going to be the richness and depth. I mean, you're going to hit that same problem no matter where you go. So I guess there is a reason why they make limited releases. It's just trying to find some of those limited releases that match sort of either the same proof or profile or age that I think that you really need to try to find and get out of this.
I love the nose on both of these, actually. But that's pretty common with Russell's, which I think this is.
I don't think so.
You don't think it's Russell's? Or you think it's rye?
I think it's rye.
Well, I haven't tasted it yet.
Well,
but
it's only because I know.
oh, because you know. All right.
'cause I know.
See, I need to just stop guessing.
It's okay.
Just go
the
let
one
the
thing
envelopes
You've been
do the
doing good
talking.
so far.
Yeah, you've been pretty good. So, Mikey, I'll kind of point this question over to you because I know that there's a lot of people out there. Travis Hill, he's been on the show before.
Totally right.
And yeah, there you go. And there's a lot of people out there that try to make their own Four Roses limited edition small batch. I mean, have you looked at creating your own kind of like small batch out of like different store picks or anything like that before?
I've not done it with great strategic intent to create a certain brand or release. I have done the classic blend bottle, or some people call it infinity bottle. It was infinity until I tasted it and liked it. Then I stopped. Then it became my blend because I stopped putting things in it.
Oh yeah.
So people taste it like, this is great, and I give it out.
And you had a record
give it out
like exactly
to
recreate it.
Yeah, I did keep your record, but I lost it. But yeah, I would give it out.
My dog it always happens.
Doing like bottle shares and things like that. I give people a sample, not tell them what it was, and they were like, "This is really good. What is it?" Like, it's actually just a blend of like 17 different 2-ounce, 4-ounce kind of things over time. But I've never done it intentionally. But I have known guys that's tried, the poor man's Pappy, and have tried to recreate the Al Young with the blends that they think will work. But sometimes they think we're a lot smarter
in there.
Well, I mean, there is something to it. There was a blind tasting that Blake from Bourboner hosted years ago that I was a part of, as well as a few other people. And oddly enough, like, he sent 6 samples, and we had to rank each sample, kind of like flavors and everything, notes and everything that we're getting out of it. And it was so climatic at the very end, because it was all happening. He sent the samples, we submitted them. And then at the very end, we all got on YouTube or Google Hangouts and promoted on YouTube, and we all got on there, and come to find out at the very end, the number 1 bourbon we all loved was exactly what you said, a poor man's Pappy that was mixed in a Ninja blender. I mean, and I don't know if that has something to say about aeration. I don't know if there's something to say about anything else, but it's just like, yeah, I mean, he literally threw it in a Ninja blender. Yeah. And that's what won out of like 6 different bourbons. So
it's crazy.
It kind of goes to show that, yeah, you can't always just think that the most limited things are going to be the best things.
Yeah.
I'll probably be adding a Ninja blender to my Amazon wish list.
There you go.
I have one. They are fantastic.
Yeah, I know.
Make quick smoothies in the morning.
Smoothies and bourbon. What else? What else do you want to mix?
Just don't mix the smoothies with the bourbon.
All right. So for me, I already know like what this is. I can smell it. I can taste it. So 2 is going to be it for me.
2's definitely. I mean, I'm torn. 1 would be a great everyday drinker. It's got a lot of complex, like great. It's a great pour. But 2 is like, 2 to me is like really like something special, like that I would want out of a limited release or like a store pick. Something special. Like that's I really like 2.
So
they're both really good though.
I can just by the nose and the taste, like I already know what they are. So Mikey, I'm gonna push over to you. Is 2 worth like $950 more right now?
That's a great question.
Because that's ultimately. I mean, I'll tell you what. If it's reversed in the reveal, I'll just go ahead and wrap it up. I'll put in my card and be like, listen, Bourbon Pursuit's over.
You can kind of taste the 15-point proof difference, between the 1 and 2, which kind of gives you a hint. But it'd be funny though if they are reversed. A is the Booker's Rye.
It's a great question, but I think it has an easy answer, and that is no. Price difference wise, there's no way. If you want something that's sippable, and there's nothing off-putting about this rye, to me. There's nothing off-putting at all. But this one does have, the number 2 has a lot more depth, character, and the proof difference is definitely evident, especially on the back end. It's sticking there to your tongue in a good way.
I mean, at this point, there's a lesson to be learned here, right? I mean, we're 5 deep, and I think we've already noticed that when it comes to special releases, that the age is the important part.
Yep.
The age adds a level of complexity and characteristic to it that you necessarily won't get anywhere else.
Yep.
So far, we were dumbfounded by 1, right?
Yeah.
Having a Weller 107 pick that actually beat out the Weller Craft Your Own Perfect Bourbon. From then on, it's been really a difference in age.
Yep.
From there, I mean, it's hard to replicate.
Well, and that's why. I mean, with like MGP, people go crazy with like the 10, 12, 14. it's more has to do with the age. Like the aged whiskey is great. Like these Tennessee aged whiskeys are fantastic. Like Kentucky aged stuff, it has to do with age. Like it's not necessarily the mash bill, the juice, whatever. It's when you get to that 10 to 14 year range, there's magical, happens right there, and it is what it is.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and do the reveal because I can't wait anymore. Yeah, it's exactly what we thought it was. So D1 was the Knob Creek from Westport Whiskey and Wine, and D2 was the Booker's Rye.
They did a great job on D1. I mean, that's a
absolutely.
great store pick for me.
And that's what I mean. That's a thing that we talked about the whole entire time is that
You can get that for what, $60 versus $950. It's
well, I mean, even if you were if you were even on top of it, even when it came
$400,
out, it's
right?
$350,
$350,
$400 to even get your hands on it. So, and this was years ago. So it was definitely a tough way to make it happen. So again, this is one we are not going to mix.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah,
D1.
do not mix these
Don't mess
together
that up.
because after the show is over, y'all, we are going to be probably just celebrating with the rest of the stuff we like to drink. over here.
leftovers?
Yeah, the leftovers, right? So the best of the all infinity bottles, if you will. So Mikey,
So
I guess
moving on, process elimination, we have Russell's.
we have. I can tell you right
we
now
go.
because I was a part of it. We're pouring out letter E, and when we do with letter E, like I already know what it is versus the brand. However, these guys don't know what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of reserve my comments for absolutely everything. And just let them figure it out. So, as we start going down this path, though, what have you found like the most interesting?
Well, so far, I mean, the three limited releases have won versus the store picks, which is.
And do you think it's an oversight on our part that maybe we didn't choose the best comparisons? Because as I mentioned earlier, like it's age versus a lot of stuff. Sometimes
I don't know though,
proof.
because I mean,
And
store picks are still getting really good pours. I mean,
Yeah, but think about it. Like, think about other brands. Like, I mean, look at the shelf. Like, is there anything else that like we missed going into this? Like, think of like I said, we already talked about Old Forester and Old Forester Birthday Bourbon.
Stag would be the only
Stag
one.
and Stag, it's Junior would probably be a good one as well. Like I said,
You could do like
might get to
you
that
could do a 1792 full proof versus like a Kentucky Owl later.
oh,
'Cause-
you think that's where it comes from? Huh?
I think so.
so. It's that's your guess.
Yeah, I
All
think
right.
so. But I was way off on some of these. I've been guessing them. So, but yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, because you got some MGP stuff, but like they're all. There's such a wide range, like from proofs to it's hard to, and
that's
there's
a
not
tough one.
There's not like a ton of everyday offerings with MGP.
Well, we had talked about this beforehand of trying to figure out like, is there a single, and that's and I guess that's the problem when you get to what
We can do
want.
this, but it might kick us in the teeth like a Pursuit Series versus Dickel, 13 year. But we're not gonna do that.
Yeah, well,
Just kidding.
they-
Well, Dickel's
it
100
also-
proof.
It also
and-
doesn't exist.
Yeah,
So that's the other thing.
yeah.
But the other part of it was,
Or we do barrel, I guess. Barrel versus Pursuit Series.
well, I mean, barrel. They do a lot of blending. It's a
yeah,
lot
so
of
that's not a
different-
true comparison.
So I mean, it's an Indiana, Kentucky.
I think the
everything.
Willet versus Elijah Craig barrel proof would be a good one because
just to get it out there.
yep.
I mean, who knows? But I mean, when I look at it, like, it would have been good to do like a regular Booker's versus, I mean, a Booker's. I didn't want to open up a Booker's 25th for this. I wasn't going to do it. It's like, sorry, just be honest with you. I'm not going to open a Booker's
Cheap
25th
ass.
for it. But I mean, that versus Booker's 30th or something like that. Like Booker's versus Booker's. Because at the same exact, at the end of the day, like each one of those is very good in its own right. However, like the proof points aren't going to be a whole lot of difference.
Yeah.
When you get to that high in proof, when you're in the 125 to 130 proof,
yeah.
who knows if your taste buds and your flavor profile can actually discern a lot of stuff that's actually happening at that level.
Yeah.
Right. Actually, oh my gosh, like I'm tasting these, I'm nosing these side by side. I don't think I can tell the difference.
No.
So now we're doing a Wild Turkey comparison, Russell's Reserve versus the 17-year Decades release. And I mean, on first nose, like there's no difference. There's no discernible difference whatsoever.
The first one, I don't know. They're pretty close. I was like, the first one may have a little more alcohol, but I don't know. They're pretty similar.
Yeah. I mean, and this also goes back to the age conversation, right? I mean, like when we talk about age, like 17 years, you expect to have a lot more depth, a lot more complexity, a lot more of this sort of stuff. However, we've sang the praises of Russell's Reserve for years. It's one of the best single barrel picks that you can get out there today.
Yep.
I mean,
and the best experience.
Have you been on one of the?
Not been on a turkey pick yet.
Haven't been on a turkey pick yet.
Oh man,
but you're the one that actually brought today's pick.
I did.
So,
yeah.
So
I'm getting. I mean, maybe it's because I do get a little more ethanol on the first one, and then I go straight to the second one, and it smells a little sweeter.
Yep, I totally
getting a little sweeter on the second one, but they are very, very close.
I love both of them.
I know.
Nose wise, like I mean, Russells are one of those things you can just nose all day.
Both these are fantastic.
I haven't had two yet.
It's actually very, very
but number
hard.
one's really good.
It's actually very hard to find a discernible difference. I mean, there's a little bit of difference in the taste, but it's not so much that you're like, okay, this is a difference of $100 right here. Like it's very, very different.
Two's got, I don't know, I like the mouthfeel of two. Like it's got more like a little more sugary, brown sugary kind of syrupy kind of texture to it. One's very good, but two's kind of more, I don't know, just real rich and sugary to me, like syrupy. I like. They're pretty damn close.
They are very,
very close. I mean, for something that's almost like it's not a decade's worth of difference, but I mean, you're looking at least 6 to 9 years, right? Of what you see between some of the older reserve picks from Russell's versus the decades releases. So
I'm gonna go with two, but not by much. They're pretty close. Two's oily on the palate. I don't know. You know.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of with you on that one too.
Yeah, two has got a longer lasting finish. The nose is sweeter.
Sounds like for you, it's a landslide win.
This is for me, it's
a landslide
easy
win.
Two.
So two. All right. So Ryan, go ahead and reveal the last one we have today.
What do you think?
Uh-oh.
Well, it sounds like you're gonna toss us a curveball. Is what it sounds like.
Well, so two is actually the CMB pick. One
buddy.
is the decades.
There we go.
There you go.
So yet another chance where we get to find out.
Finally,
that,
store pick. Yes,
The beauty of
store
single
pick
barrels.
making a comeback.
I mean, when we look at the results from today, I mean it's 3-2, but it's not I mean, as I just said, a landslide victory. I mean, it's something that is it's almost comparable. If you can find that one little place that does really good things versus somebody that just, I don't know, just accepts it or finds the barrels at the store and does whatever. There's actually validity to the and by the way, this was all for science.
Yeah.
So make sure that everybody knows this is all for science today.
But it's all subjective, and we don't matter.
Yeah, that's also very true. And you cannot buy any of these anywhere. So it's all gone. So
yeah, I mean, the first two, I mean, were really like, you know, with the CYOB. I mean, I was amazed at how bad that was. Like, I just did not like it at all.
Bad.
Well, not bad.
It's
but,
not a bad whiskey.
but for the money, it's
Ryan, we get a lot of stuff shipped to us.
It's not bad.
We
but
know what bad whiskey tastes
I guess I was just, after revealing it, I was like pretty disappointed.
And if anything, I feel like what it does is helps people see to not fall into the trap of FOMO, to fall in the trap of hype, because the fact that a CYPB is $400 or $500, and you can get a single barrel pick of OWA for $150, or if you're lucky enough to get it at retail, $60-ish bucks. It's like, man, chase the one that tastes better.
Yeah.
And so, and it should bring some validity to those who are distilling, to those who are blending, because Ed Bly is a blender, and he picked this barrel at Turkey. So there is some validity even to like, hey, they're getting paid lots of money every year to do this professionally. So and even if you go to a liquor bar or a party source or Cork and Bottle, they have tasting bars.
Yep.
So you can taste these things before you give in to all I got to have it because there's a line. Well, maybe you don't even like the bottle that you're standing in line for. So yeah, taste things before you buy them. But
I mean, there's some psychology there to the line thing.
oh
Right?
yeah, for sure.
I mean, everybody thinks that, like, I mean, we've all been there. We've been there in the morning, and then all of a sudden, there's somebody that walks up and be like, what are you all in line for? And they're like, well, I'll go ahead and just hand you. I'll just go stand in line.
I'll go in the back line.
I mean, there's a group mentality to it, but
Yeah, for sure.
it's not fun. But it's the reality of what it is.
It's animal spirits, we all just follow the herd, so.
But I mean, for today, I'm actually very pleased to kind of see the results because coming away with at least 2 out of the 5 that weren't limited releases gives some justification for what we were thinking today.
And 2, I mean, when you're doing store picks, it's really based on who's going, who's picking, what they like, whatnot. So like, find a store or find someone that kind of meets what you like, and that's. You can find stuff that's just as good as the big price tag as limited releases.
And it's not even that. I mean, we had some unfair competition too, right? I mean, if you think about it, like the Elijah Craig, 18-year versus like a 9 to a 12-year.
Yep.
It's not a fair competition. So when you think of,
which I preferred the 9 to 12.
I know, and that's okay. And a lot of people are gonna be on your side too. I mean, but I'm a tannin person. Like that's what I like. But that is not a fair comparison. So we'd love to hear from other people. Maybe we'll revisit this again in a year or two. And if you think that there are other bourbons out there that fit either the mash bill, the proof, and the age statement that you can compare against, then we should probably look at it again in the future.
I mean, is Blanton's and like Buffalo Trace similar mash bill? Or they're different?
They're actually different mash bills.
Or is Elmer and Buffalo Trace, or what's
Elmer?
I'm trying to
Elmer
correlate the two.
And Blanton's are in the same mash bill. That's all number 2.
Gotcha.
Number 1 is Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare, and some of those ones.
If we had a Eagle Rare, double whatever, 17,
double rare, Eagle 17.
Yeah,
but I don't think anybody's gonna.
We don't have that much funding for science.
Yeah, it's. I think on the market right now, it's hovering around like 9,000.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
No, those are trophies. They're not getting drank.
Yeah, but Mikey, I want to say thank you so much for honestly bringing this idea to us, because this was, like I said, it's fascinating to go through and do this, not only to test our strengths or test our knowledge. I know Ryan is going to go back home tonight and he's going to be like, all right, I got to go ahead and I'm going to pull a spoon of peanut butter in my nose and just make sure I know what peanut butter smells like. Like he's going to really take this seriously.
For sure.
You got to.
Yep. Get my color wheel out and my flavor wheel.
But I mean, it was actually a really good, not only just, like I said, just for experience for us, but I think for our listeners as well, to kind of see like what else is out there, like what can you experience, and to not take everything at what the label says and not get caught up on the hype, because that's the problem with all of us. We get caught up in the hype.
One thing we could, and I just thought it was like Weller 107 versus like Pappy 15, or Weller 12 versus Pappy 20, because they're both the same proofs, just more age.
That's true.
And bigger price tag, but
a lot bigger price tag.
We'll do it next time, I guess.
There we go. So we got something for the next round. So make sure you all stick around for that. So Mikey, before we close out here, if there's any way that people want to know more about you, I mean, do you have any social handles that people want to know about you or anything like that?
Sure. Yeah, I'm on most of the social medias and book faces and all those fun things.
There we go.
But so I do have a group and called Sacred Sippers. We sip great whiskey for a greater purpose. So we're on Facebook, Instagram. You can find us there. Like I said, I'm on Facebook and Instagram as well under my handle at Mikey Conrad. We do lots of charity work with our group. The charity we fund and help with barrel picks is called the Aruna Project. So check out their website, buy a nice thing from the charity there, read more about what we're doing there. But that's kind of what I'm in the game for, is blessing other people and enjoying good whiskey with them and sharing fun stories. And so, it's a pleasure to be here today to do this and taste some great whiskey with you guys.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And I'm actually taking a moment to say, like, I'm very happy to see that, the Aruna Project and just everything that happens with inside of the whiskey world is actually very good in regards of donating bottles, raising money. Like, there's a lot of stuff that happens with inside the borders of everything that happens here. So, cheers to you and cheers to everybody else that raises money for good causes when people don't need a bottle of Pappy 10, right? and they want to put it to a better cause. Like that's
no doubt. That's awesome.
It's a great way to make it happen. So cheers to you for that, for making it happen. So Ryan, I'll go ahead and let you close it out.
Yeah, thanks for this awesome idea. It was a lot of fun. I had a great time. Definitely need to go back and work on my skills, so I can know
to hone them in, man.
Yeah, to hone them in. But no, this was fun, and I want to do this again. This was great, and if you like what you hear, let us know. If you don't like what you hear, let us know. Give us more ideas, because we don't always have the best ones, and so just keep giving us feedback and comments. We love them. So with that, we'll see you next time.
Bourbon and Beyond, the world's biggest music and bourbon festival, is even bigger. September 20th, 21st, and 22nd at Highland Festival Grounds at the Kentucky Expo in Louisville with Foo Fighters, Zach Brown Band, Robert Plant, and the sensational Space Shifters. Gerald Hall and John Oates, John Fogerty, ZZ Top, Leon Bridges, and more. Complete lineup of musical artists and celebrity chefs at bourbonandbeyond.com.